The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or your video service provider.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host Cheryl Hentz. Very happy to be joined tonight by our police chief here in the city of Oshkosh. Chief Dean Smith is here, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. Lots of things to talk about tonight. You know, we're getting close to the holidays, so we want to talk about not just crime and crime prevention, but how people can better protect themselves during the holidays, whether they're just staying at home or they're out shopping or they're maybe traveling. You've got a new canine in the department,
Yeah, we
so
do.
we want to talk about all of that. But I guess just starting out, you've been here 3 years now?
4 years.
4 years.
5, yes.
Oh my God, where has that time gone? 4 years. Have you seen crime change in that amount of time, Chief?
No, actually, when we look at our statistical data, we've actually seen our Part 1 crimes actually go down. We've had double-digit reduction in Part 1 offenses over the last couple of years, which is really, really important to us.
Sure. How do you account for the fact that those stats are going down?
Well, we are we're doing a lot of proactive work as it relates to concentrating on crime. We do a monthly crime report, so I can look for any specific spikes that might occur, so that we can concentrate on what's happening. Do it now rather than wait 6 months from now when we can't catch up. We can't solve a problem. So we do hotspot mapping. We'll do. We have a crime analyst who analyzes what's going on within the city. If we see any trends, we try to get on the trends right away and address that issue.
Okay. What and I need to apologize first of all for viewers. I normally don't look this relaxed and athletic looking, but I had to rush here from an earlier appointment, so I apologize. The chief looks so great, and I look like I'm ready to go out for a run. But anyway, so that's that. Well, it's good to hear that the crime is coming down. What seems to be our biggest issue right now?
Well, I think property crimes always drive what happens within a community. Violent crimes, your robberies, your assaults, and things such as that. Those generally don't occur a lot. But your property crimes, your larcenies, people leaving the car unlocked, and then we'll have folks that will go inside a car and because the car's unlocked. We're getting into the winter months, and folks will leave the car running because they want to warm it up, and so somebody will come and take their car. It's an opportunity type crime.
Sure.
It's those types of things that occur that we're seeing a series right now where we're seeing some storage sheds being broken into, and so we want our community to be safe, but you got to be vigilant in taking care of your property.
Sure. Now those storage sheds, they're in the backyards of
Well,
people's...
no, these are actually like long-term storage.
Oh, those kind of
yeah,
storage.
yeah.
Okay, I was thinking you were talking about, storage sheds that people have in their backyards.
No.
So you're talking about like storage warehouses.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Wow, that's kind of interesting because I would think that most of those places have like cameras around and that kind of thing. And
some do, some don't. It just depends on the location. There's several mini storage facilities throughout the community. So.
Wow, I'm still kind of surprised by that. Since you have been here for 4 years and coming up on 5, that's so hard to believe. I don't know where the time goes.
I know.
But what kind of a footprint do you feel you're leaving here in Oshkosh?
Well, I'm not leaving. First
Well,
of all.
I know, but you're creating. Let's get that way.
I'm trying to create a climate of really caring, both for the community as well as for the officers and the staff.
Yeah.
And it certainly is challenging. We want to make sure that the community has a very, very good relationship with law enforcement, and that the community cares about their police officers. Likewise, we want the police officers to truly care about the community. So, we've had a lot of hiring. We've hired a lot of new police officers over the last several years.
How big is the force now?
We have 103 sworn.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of retirements. So with that comes new officers. We have to make sure we train them up well.
Sure. Okay. So I want to talk about sex trafficking crimes, because that's something we hear about all over on the news. And I've done a story on sex trafficking, and I talked to one of your vice officers on that. How bad of a problem is that? Just in case someone missed our story on sex trafficking.
Well, it really is. It's a problem throughout the state, and specifically on the 41 corridor. We'll have incidences occur where we'll have folks coming up from different areas, and we're an event city. So during events, there may be some opportunistic crimes that are occurring because of that. So we want to make sure that we're vigilant in what we're doing. We're partnering with the state DCI, Department of Criminal Investigations, and we're going to be doing some concentrated efforts in the new year to really work on it here within the city of Oshkosh.
Sure. When I was interviewing the vice officer, he said that these Asian massage parlors are very problematic. I'm still trying to wrap my head, and they go in, and you guys have done surveillance of them, and you've done raids on them, and I'm trying to wrap my head around, Chief, why they are still open. If they've been raided and arrests have been made, what is it that makes these places continue to stay open?
Well, we've had a good track record of closing them down, and then you'll have a new one that will open up. A new ownership comes in, and they're able to get their business licenses, and then they start their activities, and we address them as we can. And that's going to be an effort for us as well in 2020, looking at what we have going on here in the city. Yeah. We've closed down the ones that have come in and charged appropriately, and working with the district attorney's office, we try to make sure that we can get prosecutions and not let them open back up.
Yeah, and then these other new people just apparently, they must be watching. I don't know how they know that these places are available, but somehow they get that knowledge, and so it's probably, I don't know, maybe it's a big ring of people that seem to know, but it's a little discouraging when they continue to operate, and there's one in particular that I see open all the time. I don't care what hour of the day or night you want to drive by. It's on Witzel Street, over by the theater and so forth, and it's just, open at all hours of the night. So it's weird. It really is. And what I've been told and what I understand is that those women who are in these parlors, or I guess I'll call them a massage parlor. I don't really know else what to call them. But they are often being trafficked themselves, in that they don't even know where they are. They don't know, maybe they know they're in the United States, but they don't know what city or state they're in some cases. And that's another thing that I try to wrap my head around. How do they get them here without them seeing where they're being taken?
Well, it's not that they don't see where they're taken; they're just not familiar with where they've been taken to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So they know that they're in some community somewhere.
Yeah. I didn't know if they sort of blindfolded them, or
no, I don't.
This
I don't
whole
think
trafficking
that's the case,
thing is so. It's fascinating to me, and yet it's very depressing.
Right.
And it's just a sad state of what's going on in our world, really. Let's talk about drugs and gangs. Do we have a gang problem here in Oshkosh?
No,
Okay.
no, we don't have a gang problem here.
Okay, all right. Do we have a drug problem?
I think that every community has some semblance of drug problems. I think that if we could solve our drug problem, we'd probably solve 80% of all of our crimes.
Wow!
Just because of the connection between drug usage, drug selling, and it certainly drives a lot of what happens here in the city. If it's a crime of passion, that's one thing, but if it's a crime of opportunity, are we stealing things because we need to fund our drug habit?
Sure.
That type of activity.
Yeah. What are the ages primarily of who we're seeing being arrested for drug-type crimes, drug-related crimes?
Oh, it's anywhere from your late teens up into your 30s and 40s. I mean, it could be a wide range. It's not locked into a specific age bracket.
Yeah. And now we're seeing not so much underage smoking, but we're seeing a lot of vaping.
Yes.
How big of a problem is that in the city?
I think it's a problem statewide. I think we've all seen the recent news stories where we've had some Wisconsin residents that have died because of vaping. And typically what we're seeing, from what I understand, they're vaping cartridges that maybe have been adulterated by somebody who's selling a black market cartridge, and that's where these folks are having respiratory problems and dying.
Yeah.
And
quickly.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you can be a smoker and smoke for years,
right,
and may or may not have something happen. But this vaping, it's frightening to me. It really is. And I know some people who use vaping or e-cigarettes. It's a little confusing to me. You know, when you see someone doing it, I'm not really sure exactly what they have. But it's very frightening about how fast this can affect someone's health and their breathing. Let's talk about armed guards or officers in schools. It's certainly not been talked about here, I don't think. But, you know, in cities where they have had school shootings and so forth, and you can't go through a couple of weeks at a time without hearing of some school somewhere with a shooting or a mass shooting, whatever the case may be. We don't have that problem here. But you guys are prepared to deal with it if we do.
Absolutely.
And I know you've worked very closely with the school district on that. But how do you feel personally about armed guards or officers, sworn officers in the schools?
Well, we actually have our school resource officers that are sworn police officers, armed police officers that are in our schools. Okay. It's a good thing to have. Our officers that are our SROs, they know their students. They have an opportunity to intervene when issues are small before they start to blossom into something big, and they're very in tune with what's going on within the schools themselves. So I think it's a very good deterrent in the schools.
Sure.
If you see a police car out front, you're more than likely not going to go to that school and try to create harm to those students.
Sure. I know that some places have actually even talked about arming the teachers, and I personally don't know how I feel about that. I mean, they already have a tough job as teachers, and then to add that extra element to it, I don't know. But how many resource officers do we have in Oshkosh?
We currently have 5.
5,
yeah.
Okay.
But then we also have police officers that go into elementary schools and they do mentoring. We have officers that go and do DARE training. We have officers that just go and walk the halls on the regular patrol shifts, just to make sure that we're visible. Sure.
You mentioned DARE training. The DARE program was in Oshkosh. Was that not done away with a few years ago?
No, it's been around for many years.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it went way back, but I thought that they were doing away with it or something, and so I'm glad to hear that they're still doing it.
Yeah, and DARE in its sense of what it was when it was first introduced, drug awareness and response education. It's not what it was when we were in high school or when we were in school. It's more about life skills. It's more about making good
Okay.
decisions. It's more about being a good person in a community,
Sure.
more than anything else. And just for our fifth graders, making sure that they have a good model to work from.
Yeah. So it's basically it's kind of changed,
Yeah.
but it's so okay, but it's still around. Let's talk about the new canine that you
Yes,
have.
yes.
What is his or her name?
Legend.
Legend. I
Legend.
like it.
Yes.
Who came up with that name?
That came from the breeders.
Okay.
And it's actually a single purpose dog. It was donor funded. We had a community member who donated money for us to purchase the dog and also provide the training. It's actually a Labrador. And
Okay.
Legend just started within the last week and a half, coming back from New Mexico, being trained with his handler, and
Wow.
we're really excited to see what he does.
All right. And in the last week and a half, we're taping this on the 21st of November. So early to mid-November he arrived.
yes.
Okay. How old is he?
3 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you know, Chief, is there a requirement that a canine dog be a certain age?
Well, the breeders, when they're looking for a canine dog, they want to make sure that they are able to find a dog that's going to be well mannered, that's going to be trainable, but also has a long work life. I mean, it's a significant investment into a canine, and
Sure.
Usually a patrol canine, a dual-purpose dog, the shepherds, things like that. They'll have a 8 to 9 years old, and then they need to be retired because it's a lot of hard work on a canine.
Sure.
It's with the climbing, the working, the bite work, all the stuff that goes along with it. It can take its toll on a puppy dog. With Legend being a lab, and they're just lovable dogs. They love to work. We hope Legend stays around a little bit longer than that because he's not going to be doing a lot of the hard work that the shepherds that we have are doing.
Sure. What will his purpose be?
He's a drug dog.
Okay.
His purpose is drugs.
Okay. And he goes anywhere then? He can go into schools?
Yes.
And
he's also going to be used for tracking if we have a missing person, and we think they may be outside, and he can certainly track for missing persons and
great.
help us locate if we have a lost child, if we have somebody that is wandered off, an Alzheimer's patient, dementia patient, and we need to find them. We can use Legend to help locate them.
Sure. How long does training generally take?
Oh, I think he was down in New Mexico 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
That's not a very long time.
Well, the dog is already trained in obedience and trained on the basics. This is more in the handler and the dog getting to know each other, the handler learning how to operate the dog as a police canine, then training up on getting certified on certain types of drugs that they're able to sniff out.
Sure.
So there's already a lot of training that goes into the dogs before we actually get the dog, and we do the cleanup training after that. And then certainly every month the handlers are doing training regionally with all other canines, and then throughout the week they're doing individual training with the dogs. So our canines are highly trained. They spend a lot of time, the handlers do, working with their dogs to ensure that we provide the best service we can with them.
Sure. And it's fascinating to watch. I had the pleasure and the honor of being able to see one at work, and it's unbelievable what they can do.
Right.
And I'm a dog person. That's my passion, and I do a lot of volunteering with dogs. And so when I see one that can do that, it's just absolutely amazing what they can do.
And you should check out Odin's Instagram page, one of our canines.
Odin?
Odin, yes.
O-D-
He has his own Instagram page.
Is it? How do you spell that?
Odin.
Odin.
Yes.
Instagram.
Yes.
And what kind of? He's a canine,
He's
of
a German
course.
Shepherd.
But what does he do?
Well, he's a dual-purpose dog, so
Okay.
he's a drug dog as well as a patrol dog. So if we have a serious situation where we have to introduce a dog in to keep an officer safe, then we'll do that. Odin's got, I think, well over 30,000 Instagram followers.
Wow.
He's got a big fan base, so.
Well, we'll bump that up one tonight because I'm going to check it out and see, what this guy is up to. So, and of course they live with their handlers or
Yes.
their trainers because they continue to train them, I guess, once they get here. So we have 5, and what do they all do?
We have 3.
3.
3
I'm
canines.
sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you said 5.
No, we have 3.
Okay, 3 canines.
Yes.
All right, and so we know what the 2 do. So we've got Legend, we've got Odin. Who's the other one?
Lando.
Lando.
Yes.
Okay, and another German Shepherd.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, how old's Lando?
Lando is probably 4 years old.
Okay,
Both him and Odin came at about the same time frame.
okay. Odin is how old?
About 4 years old.
4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How much does it? You said someone donated the money to have, to buy the dog and to do the training. What kind of a price tag are we looking at?
It takes about $20,000
Wow.
to fund the dog and the training.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
well. Whoever that person is, did they do it anonymously?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, as
Anonymously, I know who they are, but
yes,
they want
of
to remain
course.
anonymous.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, if you're watching, Canine Donor, thank you very much, because as a citizen who wants to have a safe society and a good quality of life in the society, I appreciate that. So if you are watching or listening, thank you very much for the purchase of Legend and for his training as well.
And I will give a little credit to the Altrusa Club, because the Altrusa Club actually funded Odin. So
okay.
they did a fundraiser for us. I want to say it was maybe 2 years ago,
Okay.
for us to actually get Odin. So the Altrusa Club did a great job for us.
Sure. That's great. That's wonderful. Want to talk about, Neighborhood Watch. When I was growing up, of course, Neighborhood Watch was a very popular program. I think a lot of people participated in it. I don't see that many neighborhood watch signs anymore. I see some, but not a lot. And I'm not just talking about Oshkosh, I'm talking about any city. I mean, I go cover stories in different communities, and I just don't see a whole lot of neighborhood watch
The neighborhood watch
signs.
it's still out there in some shapes and forms. It's not that prevalent here right now in Oshkosh. The city has promoted the neighborhood associations, which is very similar to it, but it covers many things other than just crime watch within the community. It's bringing pride to the communities. It's bringing a sense of home to your community.
Sure.
And we find that those members who are participating in the neighborhood associations are doing similar activity as a neighborhood watch.
Sure.
We still have a couple out there, and
Yeah,
we certainly appreciate what they do, but the neighborhood associations, again, the members there, they're doing their part.
Yeah, well, and that is great for the neighborhood associations, but there are a lot of neighborhoods, and mine's one of them, that we don't have
Right.
a neighborhood association, and so it would be nice if we could have something like that. What goes into starting a neighborhood watch?
Well, if you're interested in starting a neighborhood watch, you'd reach out to our crime prevention officer, Kate Mann, and she'd be able to get you plugged in order to get it started. But you also need to have people that want to participate.
Yeah. And, I think one of the reasons that neighborhood watches, and I could be wrong, but I think one of the reasons that they've sort of dwindled in existence is neighbors don't really know neighbors anymore. And I feel that in my own neighborhood. I know them, and yet I really don't.
Right.
People have a lot of fences, and sometimes the fences make good neighbors.
Right.
But it's nice to kind of know a little bit about your neighbor's routine and so forth, so you can sort of watch out for everybody. And we had, just speaking of that, the most recent murder that we had, where the woman was murdered and the gentleman then committed suicide. That woman had been a former neighbor of mine, and even though she had moved, her daughter still lives there.
Right.
And so she would be around all the time, and she would still know stuff that I didn't know was going on in the neighborhood. And I don't know how she did it, but somehow she knew it. Even when we would travel, she would swing by and just kind of keep an eye on things. And I was so saddened when she was killed. And that was just something that I think I'm still a little bit stunned by it. But it was nice to have a neighbor like that you could talk to over the fence
Right.
and know that they were watching out for you.
Right.
And so I think that that's one of the things that comes from neighborhood watches, and I think you need that kind of relationship with your neighbors in order to get a neighborhood watch started, but also to have it be successful. And so maybe that's the reason we don't see so many.
Well, and I think social media may have a play in it as well, because everybody's so prevalently on their social media platforms, whatever that might be, and they tend to stay insulated within their homes. They don't need to go out and have a communication at the fence. They don't need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
They can just message somebody, or they can post something on a social media platform, and they feel like they've done their thing.
Yeah, yeah. They're communicating with others in the world.
Yes, yes.
And they don't need to talk to their neighbor. So, but if someone is interested in starting one, they should contact Kate Mann
Yes.
at OPD. Okay. Talking about contacting people, you guys in recent months have kind of changed your phone system when people call in. You no longer have a live person answering the phone.
Well, we do during regular business hours.
Oh, okay.
We just have a phone tree. We want to help you get to where you need to get to, and
All right.
sometimes we have our telecommunicator at the front desk for non-emergency phone calls during first and second shift, primarily till 1 o'clock in the morning, I believe it is. Sometimes they're very busy up there, and it may ring, and you may go to voicemail, and we really don't want you to go to voicemail. We want you to be able to hit a number and go get the help that you need.
Yep.
So there is a live person up front during the daytime hours and the evening hours up to, I believe it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And then we switch over the phones to the sheriff's department, and we have a ring down phone. If somebody walks in, they can call the ring down phone and get a hold of the county dispatch.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to know that, because I'm not sure what happened, but shortly after you guys started this, I called the non-emergency number, and I immediately got this phone tree thing.
You will get that. When you make a phone call, you will get
Okay.
that. And you go through the menu choices. And
Okay.
if you need to talk to our non-emergency number, you just, I think it's number 5 or whatever it is, select the number, and you'll get a person.
Okay.
But many people call us for many things, and sometimes it's for things that are non-police related, and we're able to get them to where they need to get to without having to occupy the time of our telecommunicator,
Sure.
who may be dealing with somebody else who has another need that is a police related need.
Sure. How has it benefited you guys so far? Do you find that it is freeing up people to handle other things?
Well, yeah, it certainly has helped that telecommunicator that's in the front desk, and we actually we were able to provide with the freeing up of additional staff, allowing for them to have some overlap so they can actually get a break.
Sure.
If you sit up there for 7.5 hours and you don't get a break, that's really disheartening, especially with the atmosphere that you end up working in. So being able to provide some overlap has been able to provide them a break. And essentially from 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning till 5 in the morning, we found that we're very few walk-ins. And if you call our non-emergency number, you get directed straight to the county.
Yeah.
So you're still be able to get a hold of the police, and the county dispatches us, and it's seamless.
Sure. Yeah, I'm one of these people who I was a little disheartened when I got the press release that you guys were going to that system, because I thought, another automated thing,
Right.
and I don't care who you call, whether it's a credit card company or a car. You can't even call a car dealership to even, start looking at cars without providing this big thing online.
Right.
They want all this
Right.
information. It's nuts. And
Well, no, I was calling in to my own non-emergency number, and I'd be put on hold. And I'd have to sit there and wait just like everybody else, and I'm on hold. And if I'm calling, there's a reason why I'm calling, and I'm waiting for my front desk person to finally get to me, because they're fielding many calls during normal business hours. So it's allowing folks to get where they got to get. And I do understand the fact that people want to talk to people.
Yeah.
And you just have to go to the phone tree in order to talk to the people. You want to talk to
Yeah.
a detective, you can hit this number. If you want to talk to our crime prevention officer,
Yeah.
you can hit this number. If you want to speak to the chief's office, you can hit this number. And it just helps that front desk person
it does work.
manage their calls.
I mean, it works, and you can get to where you need to get to. Some places, though, they just, they don't give you the option that you really need.
Yeah.
And so then you're stuck. You don't really know what to do. And but what I find is it's helping the company, or in this case, the police department, save time and be more efficient for your employees. And I see it as things that sort of waste my time because I have to sit and listen to this whole big long spiel before.
Or you get put on hold, like I do.
Yeah. You need a bat phone. You need a bat phone.
So, but it's allowing us to serve more folks. And
Sure.
We generally have only had one person handling all these calls, and we manage about 46,000 calls for service a year.
Wow.
Between 911 calls and our non-emergency calls. So there's a lot of activity that goes on.
And that's good. You had sent me something that you wanted to talk about, and I want to make sure I get to it before we run out of time. The department has a mental health resiliency program for your officers,
Yes.
and for civilian staff and their families. Tell us what this is. What it is, when it started, what it helps people do, or talk to us a little about what the
Well, we're
program
coming up
is.
on a 1-year anniversary of this program, and what we decided to do, we looked at the fact that we understand that police officers and their families deal with a lot of stuff, and it becomes baggage, and we sometimes have to unload that baggage, and if we don't provide a venue or an avenue for them to do that, what may be a little thing becomes a very big thing. And I've used the analogy before. It's, our police officers' lives and their families' lives are kind of like a glass of water. And the more you put in that glass of water, it can handle a lot. But that last little pebble that goes inside that glass of water may cause your water to overflow. And we have that space to work in. So we want to make sure that we can unload as much as we can out of that glass so it doesn't adversely impact that officer or their family. So what we've done is we actually we had a mental health 5K run for fundraising. Last year, everything was donor supported from the benevolence of the community. We have done some financial well-being for our community members, for our employees and their families. We've some healthy eating. We've had training on just how to take care of yourself mentally. We'll bring in some trainers that are nationally known to host training. We even went back as having a company picnic, where in the summertime we bring the police officers and their families together, and we had a picnic. We have some fitness training that we do at the Y. We've brought in some yoga at the police department. It feels soft, but it's connecting with our employees and our families, hopefully. But the most important piece, I think, that we have done is we've actually embedded professional counselors within the police department, where the officer has the latitude to go to speak to this person and really just unload if they need to. And the rule of thumb is I don't want to know what's going on in your life. I want you to get the help that you need, and I want you to be able to have a conversation with somebody who truly cares about your well-being and help you unpackage those things that are going on in your life, and hopefully give you some coping skills along the way. And then we have mentors. Every new police officer that comes into the police department is assigned a mentor, a senior officer, to help them deal with the stuff of becoming a good police officer. Every new supervisor that gets promoted is assigned a mentor as well, to help them deal with the day-to-days. Because our profession, our career, our job, it's our business, but it just takes a lot out of an officer. PTSD is a real thing. And the things that our officers see every day on the street, and the tragedies that they have to deal with, I feel I have a responsibility to help them deal with those things. We invest a lot of money in our police officers to train them, to equip them, to outfit them. We don't want to lose them 5 years into their career. We hope to get a good 20+ years out of them. And they're able to leave at the end of the day and retire and finish strong. And You know, we want to create a climate where we have a police department that cares about their employees.
Sure, absolutely. And Chief, you are so right about the stress and just the drama that officers go through and see on a daily basis sometimes. You know, I'm married to an officer, and I know the stuff that I hear. You know, I can't hear names and I can't hear that kind of thing, but I hear and I see the stress. And so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
And then that creates stress within the household,
Right.
you know, within marriages, within domestic partnerships, whatever the situation may be. And so the fact that you're kind of including the officers' families.
Yes, and we
I
brought
think
them in
that's
with the
great.
trainers as well, because we want to provide them with the coping skills on dealing with their police officer that came home and had a bad day. A bad day for a police officer could be a very, very, very bad day for somebody else, but the police officer is dealing with those issues that have occurred.
Yeah, whether it's a bad accident, someone overdosing, a murder, it could be anything.
Yes, yeah.
And but the other thing is just even the little things, they start piling up.
Yes,
and
the glass gets full.
Yep, as you said, yeah. And then that one last drop or that one last pebble, I think you said, just can make it overflow. It's
Yes.
kind of like the straw that broke the camel's
Right,
back.
it's a very, very small one, but it's a very big deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, and how long have you been doing this? Did you
We're
say
coming
about
up
a
on
year?
1 year anniversary of it.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And you've seen improvement, I'm assuming.
I think so. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
We're having officers that are participating with the physical fitness piece. We have officers that have participated in our wellness week that we had with the financial training and retirement planning and how to manage a household well financially.
Wow.
We've had officers that healthy eating, nutrition training. We've had good participation in our company picnic, we call it, and they're seeing our counselors and they're just talking.
Yeah. Well, and I would think too that some of like the fitness training and the wellness and the nutrition training and that kind of thing, that has to benefit and help with your insurance costs too, I would assume.
We hope it will. We certainly it's too early to tell.
Sure.
But we hope that we keep some healthy police officers and it does pay out well for us.
Sure, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about this Safe Seniors Camera program. Now, this goes back to early 2018. At that time, Attorney Brad Schimmel had, come here and actually he was at the Brown County Sheriff's Office, I believe, and they were talking with other local law enforcement agencies, and they launched a new pilot program. And it was in response to a growing concern about in-home caregiver abuse. I know it was about a year and a half ago that this was introduced, this pilot program. Did we have anyone in the city of Oshkosh who participated in that?
I was there at Brown County when it was rolled out.
Yes, I believe you were. I believe you were.
We haven't had any community members reach out to us, and I haven't seen a lot of. Information from the new Attorney General's office related to the program, but certainly elder abuse is important to us, and we want to make sure that it doesn't go unnoticed.
Absolutely. So it's still a pilot program that if someone wanted to take advantage of it, they could, or
I'd have to check again with the Attorney General's office. We have a new Attorney General,
do,
and I'm not sure if he's continued that program or not.
Okay, all right. But clearly, if a family member suspects there's some kind of elder abuse going on, contact the local police.
We would be there, and we still have the ability, without the state's help, to monitor what's going on.
Sure. That's good. So, talking about cameras, this is one thing that I really would like to see, and I'm mentioning it to everybody who's in a position of authority who comes to this show. I would really like to see cameras at roundabouts and at high traffic volume intersections or intersections that are inherently dangerous. And I know that under our state law, cameras, camera surveillance for traffic. It's not legal.
Right.
But I personally see how friendly and safe drivers are when there are cameras. And I think it's a great way for agencies such as police agencies, sheriff's departments, whoever, to be able to get some additional money in their coffers, and by the same token, the officer themselves doesn't have to be there physically writing a ticket and being in a dangerous situation. It's become more dangerous than ever, it seems, for officers to do their jobs.
Right. Well, and you got the red light camera systems that you're speaking of. They really wouldn't work well at roundabouts because the way that they function is they're triggered when somebody actually passes a stop line and a traffic light is turned red.
Okay.
So with the roundabouts, there is no traffic light.
Yeah. So there wouldn't be any way that
and
they
what we've
could
tried to
anything.
do with the roundabouts is when weather permits. Obviously, we're coming into winter. It's not permittable. We have our motorcycle unit now that we do some high visibility patrolling on some of the frontage roads and the roundabout areas. We just recently took delivery of a speed awareness trailer, and we had it deployed. And it tells you what your speed is. We've been putting it out in front of the roundabouts to help people understand that the police are there with telling you how fast you're going. And we're able to collect the data as it relates to the volume of traffic and the speed that's occurring and what our high speeds are in that particular area. So you'll see that a lot more come springtime.
Okay, that's good. I mean, something, because I'm sure you've seen it. People just fly through those roundabouts. They don't care that the speed limit's 15 miles an hour. Some of them probably don't even know that it's 15.
Well, and that's actually not a speed limit. It's a speed advisory.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a yellow sign, that's an advisory sign. If it's a white sign, it's a limit sign. So there's probably a misconception that that's the speed limit going through a roundabout. It's actually what they recommend you take going through the roundabout.
So if it's yellow, it's recommended.
Yeah.
If it's white,
It's
the law.
Yes.
Well, I've learned something yet
Good.
again today.
Good.
Thank you for for clarifying that. I do know that speed limits are, just because it says it's 55 or 65 or 70, you can't just go, you shouldn't be going that when it's snowing to beat the band and it's freezing on bridges and what have you. So in a case like that, yes, it's still the limit, but people have to go.
You still have to maintain control of your vehicle.
Yeah,
if you can't safely operate your vehicle at 55, you should be going 35.
Yeah.
And the roadway conditions really dictate how fast you should be going.
Sure. Yeah, too fast for conditions is what I see a lot of people doing too. Well, I'm glad to know that you've got this trailer, and so it's going to monitor people's speeds. So when it shows that someone's going 28 miles an hour or whatever the case may be, it collects all that inside the equipment, and then you can sort of piecemeal that. How often do you get the statistics on that?
Oh, we can pull those immediately. It's actually web-based, so we can see what's going on in any particular street area, and it's not specific to a vehicle. It's really just taking all the vehicles together and aggregating all the speed data. So we know what the high speeds are in that area. We know what the low speeds are. We know the average speeds. We also can do traffic count with it too. How many vehicles are actually traveling through that particular area?
Okay, very good. I'm going to go back to a phrase that I don't know when or where it started, but I think it's wonderful. If you see something, say something. If you hear or suspect something, I've kind of added this too, say something again. It's always better, I think, to err on the side of caution rather than doing and saying nothing at all and then something bad happening.
Right.
And I think more people, at least from the people I've talked to and things like that, it seems to me like more people are letting law enforcement know if they suspect something going on. Is that something that you feel is true also?
I think so. And it's whether their perception is accurate or not, if they perceive that something's happening, they certainly let us know. They're not afraid to call us, not afraid to message us. They're not afraid to give us information along the way. And we appreciate that because as law enforcement, as I mentioned earlier, we only have 103 officers, and and we don't have enough to be able to do all that we would like to do. So we need the community support to help us solve our crime problems.
Sure. Now, 103 officers, how many per shift?
Well, that varies on the shifts, and there's not 103 patrol officers. There's only approximately 50. I want to say it's like 58 patrol officers out there, and then we have supervisors along with them.
Okay.
And the rest we have detectives and administrative staff and so forth. Yeah.
All right. So that makes it even more important that
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
if they see something or hear something or suspect something, then say something,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Call that non-emergency number unless it's an emergency, and then call 911. But I think that we can never promote that enough.
Right.
To get people to call. And I know that the city now, and this is the city itself, they have an app where you can enter things. If you see, tree limbs hanging over the sidewalk, or you see maybe a sewer backing up, or someone who's letting their snow pile up and not shoveling. Does the police department have any app like that?
As a matter of fact, we do.
Okay, let's talk about it.
We're actually testing an app right now. It's a new company that's come out, and they're allowing us a free test of it, and it's called the Relay app.
Relay.
Where you can if you download Relay app.
I think I have it, as a matter of fact. Let's see here. I do. It's a bright green.
That's it right there.
It's like a fluorescent green app, and it just says Relay. So I must have, maybe I saw a press release or something about it and decided to get it that way, but I haven't used it yet. So you're testing it. How has it been working through the test?
We just did the first quarter and did a review of it, and we've generated around 60 calls for service out of the app. We've had somewhere around 100, and I believe it was 135, 140 citizen interactions on the Relay app, which generated about 60 calls for service.
Okay.
And they're really, the app should only be used for calls that are not emergency calls.
Okay.
We've had a lot of parking complaints. We've had suspicious activity complaints. We've had some animal complaints. It runs a full breadth of different types of complaints out there, where the citizen can interact with an officer relatively quickly. So
yeah, well, that's good to know.
They can send photos. They can, if they choose to. And then the company is, it's pretty basic right now. But the company is taking our feedback, and they're going back and we're improving it. So, and that's what we want to be able to have a chat session with somebody to see something going on and see if it's going to work for us.
Okay.
If it works for us, we'll continue it. If we don't feel like it's valuable to the community, then we'll probably not continue, because we don't want to pay for something that's not being used well.
Yeah, and there again, I think promotion of it is super important.
Yeah.
I know it took a little bit for the city's app to kind of catch on with people, and now I see a lot more people using it for everything. Is there anything in that particular app, Chief, that maybe overflows to the police department, or is it just for? I know it's designed to be just for city stuff, but is there anything there that kind of overflows to the?
Generally not,
Okay.
no, because that's not monitored 24 hours a day.
Okay.
Where our stuff
But
is.
Relay is.
Yeah, Relay is monitored
Okay.
by different levels of staff within the community.
Okay, so I guess I would just encourage folks to, go to your app store or wherever you get your apps from, and download Relay and give it a try. Don't just try it, but if you see something going on, then certainly
let's use it.
Yep, so that's good. The community policing that we have here in the city of Oshkosh, it's kind of like the old cop on the beat, walking the streets. One thing, and I think it's a great concept, but I never really see police cars in my neighborhood. And, it's not like I'm sitting there 24/7 looking out the windows, so they may be coming by. But have you guys in the department ever thought about having here we go again with the little, I don't want to call it a neighborhood meeting because these officers cover a wider type area, but a community type meeting for each individual squad area where people could come and get to know the officers who actually patrol those areas.
We do have an annual neighborhood association meeting where we bring all the folks together, and anybody in the community is invited to it. If you pay attention to our social media, we'll be advertising those types of meetings. But in addition, if you go to our website, each neighborhood has officers assigned to those districts specifically. So, and you have their cell phone numbers. You can reach out to the officers. All their contact information is available. And
can we get that off the website?
It's on the website.
Okay,
it's on our website. Yeah. And if there's a specific issue that's occurring, the officers have the latitude to bring the community together and talk about the issues.
Okay.
We may bring the C-Cov out into your neighborhood and just have a roll call out on your street with our C-Cov.
What is that?
That's it's our community outreach vehicle. It's our mobile command post.
Okay, all right.
And so we may bring that out and have our roll call right there in the community.
Sure.
Just to bring the community together.
Yeah, that would be good. And I guess maybe why I don't know about these annual meetings is, again, I'm not part of a neighborhood association, and I don't always see the social media stuff probably as much as I should.
Right.
That seems weird to say, but I'm not.
But it's also not
necessarily
a bad thing
24/7.
that you're not seeing police officers in your neighborhood either.
Yeah, well, that's true.
There is an upside to that too.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Chief. There sure is. I think that we are very fortunate here in the city of Oshkosh to have such a fine department. And I say that not just because I have never really found there to be issues. Mm-hmm. Well, many, many years ago, I found an issue with a cop or two. But, for the most part, I think that this department is just wonderful, and that's to your credit and former Chief Scott Groyle's credit, and maybe going even back further than that to the chief.
Well, and I do want to give credit to our officers and staff because it's certainly their desire to serve the community. It's Chief Groyle and myself, we're just men that we're leading this group of ladies and men. And we want to make sure that we provide the best service we can in the community. But it truly is the officers who make the department as great as it is.
Absolutely. And I think just some of the efficiencies that the department has in place, all of that lends to the point that I want to make about the fact that the Oshkosh Police Department has not just an accreditation, you have a dual accreditation. Are we in Oshkosh the only police department in the state that has that dual certification? I know at one time we were.
We're the only municipal law enforcement agency in the state of Wisconsin that is nationally accredited.
Okay.
We are state accredited as well as accredited at the national level, which is the gold standard of accreditation. The UW Police Department is accredited in Madison. There's some communications centers that are accredited, but as far as municipal agencies, we're the only ones that are accredited at the national level.
Yeah, and I think that that speaks again to the high quality of the department. For people who don't know what's involved in the accreditation, it is no small thing to go through.
No, we're actually right now going through our annual review of policies and what we call proofs. We have to not only have a good policy, we have to prove that we're following our policy. So we are just finishing up one of our annual reviews with the national accreditation. And we've been accredited nationally since 1994. Wow. And I think that speaks to the quality that we see in a police department.
Sure.
Our policies are vetted from law enforcement professionals across the country. And we have very good policies. And we have standards that not all police departments are required to uphold. I believe it's important that we have those standards. There's over 480 standards that we have to prove out over a 4-year period. So we have to work hard to make sure that we're doing all the things that we say that we're going to do.
Sure, yeah. Well, congratulations on that again, because as I said, it's no small feat to get accredited, and to have 2 accreditations I think is outstanding. We're almost running out of time here, but I want to talk just a little bit about, crime prevention for the holidays, whether, people are staying home and they're just getting a lot of things delivered, deliveries to homes at this time of year. Boy, some people just go through neighborhoods and steal stuff.
Right.
And so I want to talk a little bit about how people can protect themselves from having their packages stolen that they're having delivered. And, if someone's traveling, for example, what things can they do to keep themselves safe when they're traveling, as well as keep their home safe while they're away?
Right.
So let's talk first about the deliveries that people are getting at their homes for, gifts that they're buying for people.
Well, you certainly don't want to leave them overnight on your front porch. You want to make sure that you have a safe location for the deliveries to occur. And some of the delivery companies actually are recognizing that package thefts are a problem. So they're creating apps and different ways of being able to allow companies to just drop a package into your garage. And certainly the Ring doorbells or any of those doorbells
those are wonderful,
that allow you to see what's going on at your house if somebody comes to your front door and hits the doorbell. I mean, that's kind of important. You're able to record what's going on around your house. Not a bad thing to have.
Even just to have cameras, a camera or two around.
Right.
They're not expensive anymore
No,
at
they're
all.
really not.
And boy, the quality of the audio of the video is pretty good.
We wish some of our businesses had the same quality video that the Ring doorbells have.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They are good. So, any other tips that you can think of for folks?
Yeah, when you're traveling around, certainly if you're going Christmas shopping, we go back to your vehicles, keep your cars locked, but travel in well-lighted areas. You don't create a situation where you can become a victim. You want to be smart on where you're traveling and what you're doing. Well, not just in Oshkosh, but if you go to Appleton, the mall, you want to park in a well-lighted area. You want to be aware of your surroundings. If something looks suspicious, then understand that it's probably suspicious and try to avoid it if you can.
Sure.
It doesn't hurt to shop with a friend either. It doesn't hurt at all. We certainly know in the university area that sometimes the kids will wander around by themselves. We'd like for you to travel in pairs. It's not that it's an unsafe community, but you certainly don't want to become a crime of opportunity. So
Sure.
we want to make sure that we're safe in what we do. And just be smart in how you travel around.
Yeah, and I would add one thing. If you're paying cash for things, don't display a huge wad of cash.
That's very true.
Keep some back in a wallet or in a pocket or something, and kind of separate it out so that someone is not seeing all this money all at once. Or the same thing with credit cards. I know someone who he loves to show off his credit cards and how many he has. And it's just like, that's not very smart, and I don't even care how many credit cards you have.
Right.
I don't know why he feels that that's an important thing to do, but it's just not wise. Anything else? Oh, maybe keeping packages that you're purchasing in your trunk.
Oh yeah,
if
absolutely.
You have a
You
trunk.
don't want to leave them out in the back seat, and somebody can break out a window and take your packages. You certainly want to cover them up.
Yeah,
You want to make sure that you're being smart on what you're doing.
Any other thoughts? If people are maybe traveling for the holiday, how can they keep their home safe?
Well, it doesn't hurt to reach out to a friend and have a friend keep an eye on what's going on at your house. Collecting your mail, making sure you stop your newspaper if you got a newspaper coming. There's many opportunities to have lights coming on and off because of timers, and now again going back to apps. You have apps on your phone where you can turn your lights and turn your lights off. It make your house look lived in, rather than closed down.
All right, excellent. All right, very good. Well, we're just about out of time, but this has been a fascinating hour, and I thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we are just a week away from Thanksgiving, if you're watching this before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to you, and happy Thanksgiving to you. I want to thank again the chief and my crew. It's a small crew tonight, but they're a stellar crew at that. So thanks to them. And as always, thanks to you for watching or listening to us on the radio. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.